This is the first video in the Using the Magenta Suite series. This video is Magenta Forms Designer creating a form using the Easy Form Design Wizard. The next video in the series is Magenta Forms Designer modifying a form created in the Easy Form Design Wizard using the Full Forms Designer. When trying to evaluate the Magenta Forms Designer or learn to use the program, you might look at some of the sample forms included with all versions of Magenta. If you click on File and Open, you will be taken to the folder, which is on the C drive, Program Files, Data Blocks, Magenta 70, FSL, FSL being the extension of the files that are created in Magenta. You will find a list of the sample forms that come with all versions of the software. If you scroll down, we're going to look at just a couple of them quickly. We're going to look at the school survey. This is a two-page survey. On the first page, we have a multiple choice field that identifies the school, and then a number of sets of Likert-style questions. On the second page, we have some demographic information. This survey might be sent home to parents at a school district. The second form we're going to look at is one called Survey 1, and this is just another basic survey. It has 2 pages once again, and it has a number of multiple choice questions and a 0 through 9 grid at the end to pick up the zip code. On the back page, there are actually no scannable fields on this form, so there are no timing marks back here. Timing marks are the little black marks you see down the left side or right side of a page. Okay, let's get started with what we're going to learn today, and that is the Easy Form Design Wizard. So if we click on File and Easy Form Design Wizard, you'll be presented with this window, and it shows you a survey form on the left and what it might look like, and a survey form on the right. A testing form on the right. We're going to be concentrating on a survey form, and so I'm just going to click yes here. Notice that at the top of each screen you'll see a few instructions as to what you might do on this page, or some explanation. But we're going to click yes here, and we are going to be presented with this window. This is the Easy Form Design Wizard. It has a number of tabs across the top here: Form Properties, Top of Form, 3 kinds of questions, and the bottom of the form. We're on the Form Properties. These are the properties that define the form as a whole. You can change the color here, the font, the response shape from circle, flat oval, oval, and so forth. You can change the form orientation from portrait to landscape, and the number of sides on the form. We're not going to change anything here, except we are going to add a name here for our form, and we're going to call this our Easy Form Survey. And that's the file that will be created and the name of your form. So we're going to notice that we haven't changed any of the other fields here because the defaults will work just fine. And we're now going to, we are going to change one form thing here. We're going to change the color to blue instead of black. Now, a black form will give you lots of shades of grayscale, so don't worry about the fact that it's going to be solid black. But we're going to develop a blue form here today. And the next tab we're going to move to is the top of the form. Now, these are fields that you might want at the top of the form. The Easy Form Design Wizard is going to generate the form for you. So what it's asking you for is, what do you want on the form? And on the top of the form, you might want a title. And so we're going to type in Easy Form Survey. Now, you can copy and paste from a Word or other type of document into some of these entry fields. You will see that. We are going to be doing a lot of that. But you can also type in information. So if we wanted to put in a second line of text, and maybe we wanted to put in something like winter 2013 to identify the time period at which the survey was given. In the next area, we can add a logo or graphic, and we can click on this Browse button, and it will bring up a list of images that are available, and a lot of these are images that come with software. With arrows, you can modify your software, your form, and make it more readable. We're going to just go down here and select the DataBlocks logo bitmap file. And when I click open, it will then put the path name of that file in here. I can move the logo to different parts of the top of the form, but I'm just going to leave it on the left side. So what else might we want at the top of our form? I'm going to add a date field and a 0 through 9 grid. Now, these fields are not often on a survey form. The date field might be a 0 through 9 ID field, usually is not there, but we're going to put one here for illustration. I could change the number of columns here and the heading text if I wanted to, but I'm just going to leave them as the defaults. We are, however, going to skip the name. We're not going to add that. And we are going to add this fill in the bubbles completely section. This is a box that tells people how to fill in the bubbles. And if you are designing a form for a pencil read scanner, you might add a number, use the number 2 pencil. This is a little graphic that says use number 2 pencil only. Then down at the bottom here, we're going to add the instructions section, and we could type in our instructions, but I have a Word document over here, and this is the Word document we're going to be getting a lot of our information from. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and we're going to just grab this paragraph, actually right here, of information, and we're going to go over here and copy it into the paste buffer, go back over to Magenta, and click here in the instructions section and press Control V. Okay, that pasted that set of instructions that will appear at the top of the form. So this is all the areas that I want at the top of my form. Next, I might think of questions, but let's think of the bottom of the form first. Here you can add just a few things to the bottom of the form, and one of them is a comments area. So if you wanted to add a comments area, you could even change the label in the comments area to something like, please let us know what you think. And you can add more lines to the comments area. I'm going to add 8 lines, and then you can add a couple of lines of footer text. And in a survey or an evaluation, you might add, thank you for taking our survey. And if you were sending this out to the general public, you might just give them a mailing address at the bottom to DataBlocks, Palmdale, California. Okay, so those are the fields we might want at the bottom. And next, we would think about what do we want in the middle of the form or the questions. We're going to add some multiple choice and some Likert style questions. Test responses are for creating a testing type form, and since we're not doing that, we won't be adding any of the test responses. But we are going to add some multiple choice questions. So I'm going to click here on the multiple choice questions tab, and here we can enter a number of questions that relate to whatever it is that we're trying to test for or survey for. So we're going to add some very simple multiple choice questions just for illustration, and I'm going to be doing a lot of copying and pasting from our Word document. But here you can add a set, either a section header, or you could add any instructions you wanted to add before these questions. And I'm just going to add something that says demo graphics questions. Okay. And then we're going to add the actual questions and the labels for those questions. The labels are answers for those questions. So I'm going to click on our Word document again, and we'll scroll down a little farther. And here are 3 questions. They're very simple questions, but once again, they're just for illustration. So I'm going to use a little copy and paste trick here. I'm going to grab not only the question, but all the labels. I'm going to select them. I left-clicked and dragged down to select all of them. I'm going to copy them into the paste buffer. When I go back over here to Magenta, I can click into the question text, and when I press Control V, which is the standard Windows paste, since this is a one-line entry, it will not enter the labels, it will only enter the question. But when I come down here for my answers in my labels section, if I press Control V, clicked on it and then press Control V, it puts the question in here, which is not really what I want. So what I'm going to do is select all the labels, press Control X, that is the standard Windows cut command. I'm going to click back on the first entry in my labels and press Control V for paste. Okay, and that will paste all of the labels over the question. So that's once again just a little trick to move along here a little bit faster. And then we're going to click on this next question button because we want to add some more questions. Notice the first question name is MC1. If I wanted to change this name here, I could. You will see a list of these names in a later function. But I'm just going to click next question, our question name changed to 2, and I'm going to add our next question. So I'm going to go back over here to our Paste Special Word document. I'm going to select the second question and all the labels the same way I did. Click on Copy or Control C I could have pressed, and go back to Magenta, Control V. Click down here in the labels, Control V again, select just the labels, Control X to cut them. Click on the first label again and Control V to paste. And once again, that is just a shorthand so that we can move along here just a little bit faster. Then I'm going to click Next Question. Notice the software is showing us how many questions we've completed, and at the bottom it also shows how many rows are on the form possible on the form and how many we've used, just to give you an idea of where you are and how many pages that you've used. We've used 51 rows of a total possible 63. Since this is a scan form, the Magenta gives you the total number of rows in terms of scan rows. Okay, and we're going to go back over here to our Word document. We're going to grab our last question, and I'm going to press Control C to copy, and that'll put it in the paste buffer. Go back over here to Magenta, Control V, select, Control X, Control V. So those are our 3 questions, multiple choice questions. So if we wanted to continue adding questions, we can press Next Question and continue to add. I'm going to move on here, and we're going to add a set of Likert style questions. Now once again, you have the option to put some instructions, and we're going to type that in again. We're going to just type in, please rate each of the following. These are simple instructions. They could be more complicated, whatever you need to put there. And for Likert style questions, all of the questions have the same answers, and so we have to paste our answers or labels over here and our question text over here, and then down here we can make some adjustment to the group properties. So let's go get some questions, and I'm going to go back over here to our Word document, because you often have a lot of your text in a Word document. You don't have to retype it. So I'm going to grab these questions here in this table, and we're going to copy them into the paste buffer, go back over to Magenta, click on the first question in the question text, and press Control V. Control V pasted all 16 questions in, and I can scroll back up and see there are my 16 questions. So now I'm going to go back over here to the Word document, and since these are Likert style questions, a standard Likert scale is strongly agree to strongly disagree. We're not going to put in the NA, so we're just going to select our strongly agree to strongly disagree, copy them into the paste buffer, go back to Magenta, and click on the labels and Control V, and that copies them in there. So those are our labels. Now over here we can modify some of the properties. The number of lines between questions is basically 1, meaning that there is 1 line per scan row, 1 question per scan row. We're going to increase that to put in a blank line between each scan row. We're going to shade alternate rows, and we're going to run the shade into the response area. These allow shading of every other question so that the form is easier to read. And since we don't have any numbers on our questions, we're going to tell it to go ahead and add numbers, and starting this group at 1, but if we had included numbers in our question text, we wouldn't have to do this, but we're going to leave this as the default. And so we've now added questions or parts of the form to the top and bottom. We've added some multiple choice questions, one set of Likert style questions. If we wanted to, we could click on next group, and here the software is telling you that your form is now 2 pages long, and you can see that reflected down here at the bottom. We're on page 2, and we've used about half of the page, 33 rows, actually about a third of the page out of 63 rows. But I'm not going to add any more questions. We're just going to go ahead and generate the form. So at this point, we're ready to create the form. We've added everything that we wanted. We've changed whatever form properties we might want to add. Understand that once you've generated the form, you can come, if there's something you realize you've left out, you can come back into this wizard and add or modify whatever you like. But we're going to click OK, and the software is going to give you this message just telling you, asking you, are you sure you've got all the fields on the form? And if you have, then click yes, and the form will be generated for you. Now here, software's brought up the same Save Form window, and it's put in the name that we gave it on our Form Properties tab. And so if we click Save, it will save the form under that name. Notice up here in the title, you can see it's saved at easyformsurvey.fsl. FSL is the extension given to Magenta form files. If you are having a problem or request some help from our support team, we will very often ask you to send us this file, easyformsurvey.fsl, and that's what it means. And then you can see the sheet we have selected is sheet 1 back, and you can also see that down here in the title bar of the sheet. And if we click up here, we can go to sheet 1 front. So this form is a single sheet with 2 pages, a front and a back page. So let's look at what was generated for us. Let's expand our look here and see what happened. So Magenta put the title, 2 title lines on the form for us. It then added our logo out here to the left, and then it added our ID number and our date fields. This is the fill in the bubbles completely section, and it's showing the correct way to fill in your bubbles is to complete them and fill them in completely, and the incorrect way is to X them or partially fill them in or check them. And then it added the graphic that we requested, use number 2 pencil only, so this form can be scanned on a pencil read only scanner. The software also added this paragraph of directions in a text box. Okay, so if we scroll down, those are all the areas from the top of the form, and we're going to scroll down here and notice that the software added our 3 multiple choice questions. It added the section that we put in, the section label that we put in, and it then added the 3 questions. And then as we scroll further down, we'll see that this Magenta added our Likert style questions, and it added the instructions that we requested, it added the labels that we requested, and the question text. Now notice that the question text stop at 11 because we're at the bottom of the form, so that's when we go click on Window and go to page 2, and this Magenta re-added the labels so that the person filling out the form would be able to see them again, and then finished adding the rest of the 16 questions that we requested. Also notice that the shading here was added every other line so that it's easier to fill out the form, and the shading extends across the bubble area. So then the last thing were the bottom of the form fields that we asked the Magenta to add to our form, and it added a comments area. It changed the text to please let us know what you think, made it 8 lines, and then it added the last 2 lines of footer text. Now, at this point, you are in the full Forms Designer, and anything can be modified here. But if you modify something here and then go back into the Easy Form Design Wizard, which we're going to do, then any changes you made here would be erased. The software cannot keep up, the Easy Form Design Wizard cannot keep up with changes that you make. Because the form is regenerated from scratch every time you go in and out of the wizard. So just to give you an example, let's go back to the first page, and let's say I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Let's say I decided to change the color of the title to black. Okay, if I go back into the wizard, this set change will not be saved. Now you're going to see me do some things here to modify fields a little bit. The explanation for how to do those things will be in the next video in the series, the number 2 video. So don't worry about the fact that I'm not really telling you a lot about how to change things in this video. There is another one. But instead of that, because I have this form selected, the object bar has changed. To unselect this field, I just click off in the white space anywhere and it will unselect that field. The object bar will go back to the standard object bar, which has the button go back to the Easy Form Wizard. You can also do the same thing on the File menu. Down here there is a go back to the Easy Form Wizard selection here. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do a couple of things. This is a warning telling you that any changes you've made, like this color change, is going to be erased when you go back. So you do want to make sure that you've used the wizard as much as you want to before you make any hand changes to the form. So we're going to do a couple of things here. In my form, I realized that I really want question 3 of my multiple choice questions to be after the Likert style questions, not before. The software does give you the ability to change the order of the fields, and we're going to do that right here. We can click on this button. This button, change the order of the question groups, is on 2 of the tabs here. It's either on the first one, Form Properties, or it's on the last one, bottom of the form. It's the same button, does the same thing. But I'm going to click on it here, and it's just giving you a little warning here, so we're going to click OK. And you can see these are the question fields. And what we want to do is we want to move the Likert questions in between the first, the second, and third multiple choice questions. So I'm just going to click on it, left click, and drag it into the order that I want. So once again, this is just the physical order of the questions. Multiple choice question 1, 2, then Likert style 1, then multiple choice 3. When I click OK here, and all I did once again was click and drag into the proper position to make the change. When I click OK here, you won't see anything really change yet because we haven't regenerated the form. When we click OK down here, that's when we'll regenerate the form and you'll see the changes. But we're going to make one other change. I'm going to go back to Form Properties, and let's say I wanted to change a couple of things. I realized what I really need is a red form, and maybe I want to change the response shape. We'll change the response shape to flat oval. A lot of people like the flat oval. So now when I regenerate the form, it's going to add those changes as well as rearrange the questions that we asked for. But I could make any change in here, and the software, those changes would be reflected when the form gets recreated. So I'm going to click OK here now. It's giving my same warning. And now we've regenerated the form, and let's go look at what happened. Okay, number 1, our form turned red. Now notice that the logo did not turn red. The logo is always, the color of the color or colors in the logo are always set in the file. If you wanted this logo to be red, you would want to change the actual image file or bitmap file, and you would do that in another software like Windows Paint that comes with every version of Windows. So notice that the rest of the form, however, turned red except for those areas where it's important that they be black. Showing you how to fill in bubbles makes it stand out. And then the notice that the bubbles went from circles to what we call a flat oval. It's sort of a squashed flat looking oval. A lot of people like this shape of bubble. And notice that our third question went missing, but we have more Likert style questions on this page. So we went down through question 13 now, and if we go using window, go to the back page, we'll see that the Likert style questions were finished up, and our third multiple choice question was moved after the Likert style question. So once again, the purpose of that option is to give you the ability to reorder or to order your survey or evaluation form any way you want it to look. Okay, and then the software just re-added our bottom of the form fields, our comments area, and our two footer text. Okay, so once again, that is how you create a form in the Easy Form Design Wizard. The next video in the Using the Magenta Suite series is Magenta Forms Designer modifying a form created in the Easy Form Design Wizard using the full Forms Designer. That's the end of our video for today. Thank you for watching.